We are live with Mikey Eckstein. I just said to him, what are we going to talk about? We have so much to talk about, and I don't even know where we're going to start. So that's the fun about this interview today on FaceTime Live. Thanks for coming on with me.
Thank you for having me.
Been wanting to talk to you because really, actually, there is so much to talk about. You are a music manager. I call you an entrepreneur because you're diving into the vodka world. You have a podcast with our friends Chuck Bennett and Josh Landon from Fox 2. I don't know. There's probably a whole list of things on your resume that I'm really missing. So your day is pretty long. So where do you want to start? Should we start with music management?
Sure.
Start there. So, tell me a little bit about how you got into that and what kind of artists you look for.
Right. Well, I got into it at a very young age. I had just got out of high school, and I grew up in Ann Arbor, and I didn't have any brothers or sisters. And my parents, they're both passed away now, but God bless them. They supported everything that I did, and they didn't have any high profile jobs or anything. My mom, answered the phones of the Bank of Ann Arbor. My dad, oversaw the post office at Domino's headquarters, but so I just networked myself and did my own thing. And I'm Mikey Eckstein, not by design, but because I grew up with older people, with older cats, and they would always call me Little Mikey. And then my last name starts with an E, and I was a big Beastie Boys fan, so I would be called Mike E, like Mike D from the Beastie Boys. And anyhow, I was really good friends with this band in high school. They were called Funktelligence, and it was like funk, hip hop, and jazz. And right when we graduated high school, I was like, wow, you guys are actually really good. It wasn't just a fun thing to do on the weekends.
Right.
I was like, wow, and they're like, yeah, well, we were talking about it, and we wanted to see if you could use some of your older connections and book us into some bars. And I'm like, that sounds fun. So I started calling around the bars and the Blind Pig and stuff like that in Ann Arbor. And, it took a little bit of pounding the pavement for them to take us serious as some, teenagers that were in a funk, hip hop, jazz band. And when they finally gave us a night, like an off night, like a Tuesday night or whatever, I think we sold the place out, like 400 tickets. And they were like, wow, okay, we're taking you serious. And then that's why I was like, okay, this is fun. And I started grabbing like the local magazines, which would be like The Current, the Metro Times, stuff like that. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'd just look up who the music editor was, and I'd just cold call them and be like, hey, I've got this great band. Can you write about us? And they'd be like, yeah, sure. Can you send us a press kit? And I'd be like, yeah, no problem. Hey guys, what the hell is a press kit?
I love it. You know what? And I love that because you know what? I talk to so many people, and when I say entrepreneur, that literally is the epitome of what you are then and now, because that's like something you have to have ingrained in you.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you say, and I say this in that, you're like, sure, I can do it. Yeah, I'll send you a press kit. Have no idea what a press kit is, but I'm going to find out and I'm going to send it. That's it.
And this was like 1998, 99. So Google wasn't, a thing.
Yeah, you weren't Googling. Yeah. And oh, by the way, were you on a cell phone? I guess.
I was. Yeah.
You were on a cell phone.
I was one of the only ones that had a cell phone then.
You were barely on a cell phone.
Yeah. I had to put in a lot of work to make a phone call, but yeah, so it was fun, and I learned a lot, and and by hands-on, I didn't go to school for it. I learned it and learned by my mistakes, and it was fun. And then I started
and probably a lot of no's, which is
oh yeah.
Like a really, like I've done a lot of talks with young kids who think I'm just going to pick up the phone, I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to just get in the door. And people forget, like, life is about no's.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of door slamming to get.
Yeah, especially being, you know, a teenage manager of a teenager band from Ann Arbor, Michigan. There was like, oh, you know, and it was funk, hip hop, and jazz. It wasn't like, I mean, you know, straight rap, or it wasn't straight Limp Bizkit rock, or,
Mhm.
you know, and in that era. So it took a lot of, there was a way more no's than yeses for sure, but you know, the product ultimately proved itself, and it taught me a lot. And then, you know, I was, you know, 19, 20 then, and then I'm like, okay, great, we took over Ann Arbor. Like, now I got to get in with the Detroit scene. And I started, you know, I got in with the company that owned St. Andrews at the time, which was called Ritual, and I started handing out flyers and stuff for free tickets just to get my foot in the door. And then shortly after that, I started producing concerts for at St. Andrews, Clutch Cargos, the Fillmore. And again, I wasn't even 21, but I was the one running the show. I was the one.
So were you outside because you couldn't drink?
Well, no. However, if there was alcohol that was on the artist's rider that wasn't available in-house, I would have to hire a runner to go purchase the alcohol, because even though I was the boss, I still wasn't old enough to even buy this stuff for the dressing room. And I even took a lot of shit then, you know, like back in 1999 and 2000, downtown Detroit, like, you couldn't buy meter spots and block off you know, spots for bus parking and stuff. And like, I remember pulling up one time, and there wasn't a spot for the bus driver, and I remember the bus driver totally condescending me and was like, why didn't you bring your mommy's car and park it out front overnight so we had a spot in the morning? And I'm like, motherfucker, we are in Detroit. Like, don't, you know, don't take my young, you know, asses, you know, but there was a lot of stuff like that, and you know, learning. And you know, I got a funny story to share with you, that I was a runner for NSYNC, okay, when they played at Ford or Comerica Park, and I would work some of the bigger shows to make extra money. And one morning I was 2 minutes late picking up the production manager for NSYNC from the West End downtown.
Right.
And actually, that was when the West End was at the Renaissance Center. And anyhow, I was literally 2 minutes late. Okay, 8:02 a.m. And then the Live Nation production manager called me and said, hey, well, he jumped in a cab because you weren't there. And I'm like, okay, it's 8:02. He was like, well, he's like, I know, it doesn't reflect on you. And then he called me back. He's like, well, he fired you. I'm like, oh, wow, because I was 2 minutes late. So, okay, whatever. So then a couple years later, I was producing a show for a radio station. And it was like Kanye West, it was Trick, who I manage, Juvenile, Brandy, and one of the solo members of NSYNC. And that same guy,
oh my God,
that came back as this guy's tour manager and didn't recognize or remember me, but I remembered him.
Okay.
I tell you, he had the worst day ever, and he didn't know why. But you know, I was 2 minutes late. You know, like, and that was I kind of like got a little bit of retribution or whatever. Like,
yeah, be careful.
You know,
I would say be careful, but be careful who you meet in life, because it will come around.
Yeah, and that's kind of been my philosophy for everything that I've done. It's like, you never know who's who, or you know, you're gonna always come across somebody. So why, you know, my saying is, you treat everybody the same, from stagehands to senators. And that's always been my philosophy. And you know, because you never know, you know, that stagehand's going to be the president of the company one day or something. And
it's true, and they're probably trying to be.
Yeah, and it's not even about that. It's like, we're all in this life together, and we're all doing this concert or this event together.
Yeah.
It takes everybody and everything, you know, from the bus drivers to the stagehands to the performers to the sound techs to make a
It's
show
very
happen.
true. You
You
know,
know,
I started out in television production, which you may not know. And people always, at the end of a show or a live show, they want to congratulate me. You're the producer. So, you
right.
know, and I, you know, always laugh because if something went right, you got the praise. Something went wrong, of course you got.
It was your fault.
But you're right, of course it was. But I used to like at the end, I was always quick on the microphone to thank everyone because the bottom line is it wasn't me, it was
Hmm.
everybody. Like,
Sure.
you know, it's everybody. And I also learned you always feed everybody.
Oh
You
yeah.
gotta feed everyone.
Yeah.
Which you and I talk about, but if you don't feed everyone, you got unhappy people. So, you know, always feed people. So tell me about, you know, and no names, but you know, along the way, you've managed people that give us some scoop on the good and the bad of managing people, because you know, I too have clients, and you know, there's the good and the bad always, and you know, are there
Well, here's one thing, and it doesn't necessarily need or
like how do you manage the unmanageable? Like some days I have that, so I like to learn.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I
I mean, you
mean,
you
you
have
just
some artists, I'm sure, that have like some nice egos.
yeah. Well, here's one thing I could say, and people don't, and for celebrities, and especially the bigger celebrities they are, you know, when people first meet them, and you know what, celebrities are humans, okay, and they have good days and bad days. And sometimes, you know, if they're having a bad day, you know, it could be their father passing away, it could be something that nobody understands, but they might not be the nicest person at that moment.
Mhm.
And then that person who meets them goes and tells their 20 friends that, oh, so and so such an asshole. Oh, so and
Right.
so didn't do this. And then they tell their friends that, oh, my friend met this person and they were,
I
you
hate
know,
that.
you
Yeah.
can't always, you know, judge a person on the first encounter. And you don't know what people are going with personally. Um, but you know that's one thing you can't, you know, and that like that I see and I hear about people like, oh, he's such a blah blah blah. I'm like, no, actually he's not. Like, I really know this person, or I
Right.
really spent a lot of time with another person, so I don't, you know, you
You
just
it's like you met them in that one Instagram
in that
photo.
one. Yeah, exactly,
You
exactly.
know,
And you're, I'll tell you what, I'll even say his name. Justin Bieber is the nicest, sweetest young man that I've ever met, and I haven't done a lot of dealings with him. However, I've spent a significant amount of time with him, and I don't care what anybody says. And it was at the time where he kind of just disappeared for a little bit and had the little egg incident or whatever. And he played me his album that was about to come out with some other people over and over a couple times. And I didn't even really know him. I'm like, wait, this is you? You know what I'm telling everybody? I'm like, listen, Justin Bieber is about to come back hard. Like, I'm telling people, I'm like, remember when Justin Timberlake left NSYNC and he was that
mhm.
cute little boy, but then all the grown women started loving him, and
Yeah.
then the grown men. I go, that's what's about to happen with Justin Bieber when he comes out with his new album. Trust me. I even had to ask Bieber. I'm like, this is you? You're like, wow, okay, like, and I didn't even
They go
like,
away and they come back grown up, and
yeah, and
yeah.
that's exactly what happened, you know.
Sometimes they
But
get a publicist that gets a hold of them.
huh?
Sometimes they get a
Call Scooter
publicist.
Braun. I know. And yeah, Scooter's his manager, who's great. But
Yeah.
you know, like just the little things that Justin did, you know, was just very impressive. You know, for how
Mhm.
young he was or is, and you know, just him paying attention to people, and no matter who they are, what, you know,
Well,
it
as a
was just
manager, do you, you know, I know as a publicist, and, you know, for the most part, I have some celebrities actually in my roster, and I do deal with that. And you have to balance that facade. You know, they're family people. They're, you know, you sort of like leave them alone for a moment, and you also have to manage their expectations. And but as a manager, do you find that you're also dealing with that? And sometimes you have to say to your clients, like, you're about to open the door, so game time, game face.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And, have to have talks with them in different situations. And,
Mm.
also, with as I get older and, I'm managing some of the younger artists, it's fun to also teach them little life skills and stuff too, or just personal stuff, like for instance, I took an artist out to California, and one of my friends who's an actress, we got in late one night, and I was like, hey, can we crash at your house for tonight? And we'll get hotels for the rest of the stay or whatever. She's like, yeah, no problem. Like, she lived by LAX, and we ended up staying the whole week at her and her husband's house. Like, they had, and I told this young artist, I said, okay, this is what I need you to do. I need you to write her, go to the dollar store and get a thank you letter, and write her a nice thank you, her and her husband, for us staying there. Trust me, that will go a long way.
Mhm.
Literally, like 2 weeks later, I got a call. I was like, okay, I don't care if you pass away, your artist forever has a place to stay in California. That was the nicest and sweetest thing. And like, nobody would think a rapper would do something like that, So he was like, wow, that little thing that you just
Yeah.
told me to do just opened up a whole lot in my own world.
And and you know
It
what you
showed,
taught? I mean, here I'm a mom,
yeah,
here's the mom lesson. I have 3 kids, and I do, and I say, do you realize, like, I don't mean an email. Please don't send an email. Actually write a note.
yeah,
Say thank you. I mean, it is, you did just teach someone a lesson that maybe nobody just
right.
did teach this person. Like, that's
Right. So,
amazing.
so yeah, my point is like, other than managing their career and like, hey, if you post this or do this song with this person, I don't know how that would look, but being able to, you know, teach little things like that,
Mhm.
that means a lot, and a lot of my artists, like I get hit up almost daily by artists that want me to do wonders for their career, and I wish I could, because I have the biggest heart in the world. And there's artists that I don't manage anymore, but I'm still really good friends with. And my philosophy is if I can't give it 110%, it's not fair to anybody.
Yeah.
Because when I'm so passionate about what I do, that if I can't spread it equally or give it the time that it needs, I don't want to mess up anything for anybody else's career,
So I want to switch gears, and I meant to grab my bottle, which has like this much left. Um, you handed me when I saw you, and we're going to talk about the podcast too. But when I saw you, you we had a drink together of 8 Mile vodka, and I said to you, I am like a big vodka drinker, and I was blown away because
It's very smooth.
I'm very particular about my
Yep.
vodka. And that was what I said to you right away. Like, how smooth, how amazing it is. And it's 8 Mile. Um,
Yep.
and I feel badly because I actually want to hold up the bottle. But then you got the ultimate compliment, which I text you that night. My son was home, and so then the 27-year-old got into my bottle. Um, and there was the ultimate compliment as well, because he is not a vodka drinker.
Yep.
And he was like, I mean, my husband and I are both vodka drinkers. My husband likes other things, but my son is just really not a vodka drinker. And he was like, oh my God, this is so, so smooth. And I said, I know. And so then he lives in Washington, and he is Googling away, where can he buy it? Can he, so let's talk about
Yeah.
this 8 Mile vodka. How did it come to be? Talk about the name. Give me give everybody, because
Okay.
I'm telling you right now, I am not going to be the poster child of it, but man, I am going to be the ultimate testimonial. And I
Well,
came
I
home that
love it.
night, I posted about it. So, I will
Yeah.
keep posting about it,
Well,
because
thank you. And
I,
on behalf of my partners, thank you again.
I really, this, for all the vodka drinkers out there, 8 Mile vodka. And the best part about it is, anybody listening in the Detroit area, you are supporting getting like
100%
Detroit,
Michigan made.
Michigan made,
Yep.
and like say no more. But tell me about it and who your
Okay.
partners are. And
So let's go back to my good friend Sam Randazzo, okay? And he is the head of Tito's Vodka, okay?
which
So
I told you, I'm a Tito's girl.
yeah, and we've got nothing but love for Tito's and each other. There's enough money in this world for everybody. Friendly
Right.
competitors, whatever, that doesn't need to all be nasty. Going back to so Sam was a part of this company called Zodiac Vodka, which I found out that two of my friends owned, Andrus McDonald and Mark McGinnon. However, I did not know that they were a part of it at the time, but Sam was working for that company. And I had a situation, I was producing a movie with Wesley Snipes in it. And we had a product placement opportunity, and I went to Sam and we worked out a deal where we had, Wesley Snipes with this bottle of vodka and this private jet as he, jetted off running away from this heist or whatever it was in the movie. So Sam and then he hired me to do some consulting, and then Zodiac ended up folding. And he got a job with this company that had been around for a while, but they started a rebrand, and it was called Tito's Vodka. And this was 8 years ago or so, and
Yeah.
they figured it
Okay.
out because
I
nobody
love
had,
this. I love when I get to learn something. Oh my God. This is like, okay.
so he hired me to do consulting because nobody knew about Tito's Vodka, but they were geniuses because that was in the gluten-free area. They were the first ones to put gluten-free on the bottle, and like almost every vodka is gluten-free, but they just figured it out. So
All about the branding.
exactly. So is what they did is they gave me a ton of product. And so I was able to give it to people. And I'm going to tell a funny story because I literally, one of my friends who's plays for the Red Wings built this new beautiful house at the time. And he built this bar in his basement, and I gave him all this Tito's vodka. And he's like, what the hell is this? But I don't even drink vodka, but my wife does. Oh, well, cool. So I gave him cases of it. He filled up his bar, gave him the bar mats, everything. We had a team party there for Super Bowl or New Year's or whatever, and everybody was kind of forced to drink this Tito's vodka. And literally 6 months later, I was with 11 of the Red Wings and their significant others at the Maury. And I just kind of giggled to myself because I watched everybody as the waitress was taking the order. They're like, can I have a Tito's and pineapple? Can I have Tito's and Red Bull? Can I have Tito's? It wasn't even vodka. It was Tito's. And I'm like, wow, that branding really worked, and I helped him get into a bunch of places, get it pulled out of mini bars and hotels and put in. And then, the rest is history. They did their thing, but I had a really good relationship with them for years. And then I started producing shows at this new venue. This was new at the time. This was a few years ago in Flint, Michigan. And the owner of the venue was like, hey, Mo, my son owns this vodka company. Can you help him out a little bit? And then they came to me with a bigger proposition type thing. And I'm like, listen, I'm very loyal to Tito's and they've been very loyal to me. So we worked out a situation where I had some sweat equity ownership in it. And I also got my assistant some ownership as well. Cause I'm like, listen, I've got nothing but love for Tito's, but it's going to take a lot for me to walk away from this wonderful situation. So anyhow, so we ended up getting into bed with this company called Noir Vodka, and we busted our ass for it. I mean, in the first 4 months, I did single-handedly 150 times the sales that they did the entire year before with a staff of 93 distributors. Okay. So
Wow.
I was like, this is great. We got it into Myers. We got it into, I mean, on and on and on. And then the young gentleman that was the owner of the company, he was coming back and forth from Florida. And so I didn't have the full reign of everything that I wanted to do and couldn't get the answers. And then one day he was like, hey, I want to talk to you and your sister about the future of the company. And he was like, yeah, I quit. Like, what? He's like, I quit. I want to get into real estate. Like, you
Oh
know,
my God.
I'm like, wait, what? And then, so my mind immediately starts thinking, like, my assistant's like asking all kinds of questions and stuff. And I'm like, no, this is perfect. Because I'll find some, we'll buy it from him. Because he'd rather take, I would go, before you go prohibition style and start smashing all the bottles and stuff,
Yeah.
give me a little bit to, let me see what I can put together. So I got a little group of people together. And we negotiated a rate to acquire the company. And then we all had agreed on it. And then when we went to our liquor attorney, she was like, hold on, where did you go? I just
I'm
lost you.
here. I see you.
Okay. I don't know how I lost you. So anyhow, she was like, well, that's great, but there's this other company that's for sale, and it's a bit less than, you know, what the acquisition would be for you guys to purchase this other vodka company. And she's like, it's called 8 Mile Vodka. And at first I was like, oh, great, you know, because I work closely with the M&M camp, and I was, you know, on,
Well,
you
did
know,
the end, was there was such a thing as the vodka already?
it was.
Oh,
So it was already in existence, and the previous owners had it for sale. And so I was like very skeptical at first, me personally, because I'm like, okay, 8 Mile, and my association with the M&M camp, and you know, so I called them, you know, M and his manager, and was like, hey, I have an opportunity to be an owner of this vodka, but I don't want, you know, you guys to be like, dude, what are you doing? You know, and they're like, listen, we know about it because it's been around since 2013, 14. They're like, obviously, and you know, Marshall's like, I'm obviously not going to endorse it because he's been sober for, you know, a decade plus now, which is
right,
fine. And that obviously that's not what I was looking for. I just wanted to make sure I got the blessing, you know,
right.
and I did. And then when I tried it, going back to what you were initially saying, I was like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah.
And you know, not just my opinion, but I had several others try it, and they,
No, there is, if you're, I mean, again, no disrespect to Tito's, because I do like Tito's,
yeah,
and you know, and if I can't have my 8 Mile, you know, and it's
sure,
true, like you ask for Tito's, you know, so you
yeah,
know they got the branding and everything correct, but it there's a huge difference.
yeah.
So
Well, yeah, and that's the thing too, and being in this weird time, because we only acquired it back in August of this year, so it's
mhm,
only been 5 months, and it's almost a gift and a curse to have a new liquor company right now, because the gift is everybody's drinking right now, but the
right.
curse is we can't get it, we can't get people to try it. And people can talk about it, we can talk about it all day, but if you don't try it yourself, you don't
Right.
know. So we
No,
can't
so
have
and it's
promotional
right.
models
You
in these
can't,
liquor
I
stores.
know, you can't get out. And it was interesting because my son Ari he was Googling like distribution and where it is. And being that you just started, you are in a lot of places, but not like at this moment in enough.
Yeah, and you realize how competitive and big of a market it is. Because,
Mhm.
yeah, great. We could be in, you know, 300 stores, But then when you look at the big, and it sounds like a lot, but when you look at the big picture of how many stores carry alcohol, it's like, holy shit, there's 300 Myers alone,
Right.
like, so.
And you're 100% right, because really what you want to do is be in the bars and people talking about it and
Right.
having the parties. Now, the good news is 2021 is approaching.
Yeah.
We're getting there,
I know.
although it's still going to be a challenge. And, I mean, the good news is, that you want people to keep talking about it. And
Yeah. And you know what? And it's so funny because one night I started getting all these text messages of screenshots from this Facebook meme that this kid made a year ago about 8 Mile vodka. And it was kind of like a funny meme. And it said something like, there was a picture of somebody holding a bottle, and there was like 10 bottles in the background. It must have been at a retail store or whatever. And it said something like, I heard if you do 3 shots of this, you'll end up jitting uncontrollably and end up naked on Belle Isle, waking up naked on Belle Isle or whatever. Well, for some reason, it just took off. And like, I looked at it and there was like 5,000 shares. I woke up the next morning, there was at 9,000 shares, and everybody's tagging, commenting. And I ended up contacting the kid, and I'm like, thank you. I don't know like what you were trying to do, but thank you, because
right.
I ended.
You need to give him his distribution list so you could tag them.
Well, I did. I sent him a message, a direct message. I said, thank you. I'm one of the co-owners of 8 Mile Vodka. And that's awesome. And then I woke up and I saw his post, like he had created a new post. It was like, oh my God, one of the coolest things that ever had happened to me just happened today. I got a message from one of the owners of 8 Mile Vodka saying, thank you for this meme that I did. And I'm like,
so here's the best part of that kid. He knows how to get a job.
Yeah, and you know what? I ended up, I hit him up. I said, listen, we're picking up some promotional bottles. By the way, he's not a kid. I'm just old, so I call everybody kid. Yeah. He is of the age of alcohol consumption.
No, well, I assumed that too, but yeah. I'm old too. But I know. So he's a smart kid.
Very smart. And I ended up meeting up with him and giving him a few bottles, and gave him some talkish stuff. And then of course he posted like, oh my God, I met this guy and he's got this podcast, follow that. And then it was kind of cool because we have mutual friends, and I saw some comments that are like, oh, Mikey's a great guy. And he's like, I'm sensing that, so it was
awesome.
Self-validation, but
I love that.
But it's like, and in this era, it's like, I love that because we can't, there's only so much we can do with promotion and that, and even like I was talking to my partners, and like it's a joke, but any publicity is good publicity.
100%. Well, that's why I say, like, if you can get your hands on a bottle of 8 Mile vodka, Christmas is coming, give it to someone, bring it home for your own holiday. It is worth. My friends used to have a vodka tasting. This would be at the vodka tasting, and number for sure win. I would be killed by your 2 friends if we didn't
talk about talking.
If we didn't spend like a second before we go.
Yes.
And so, because I have all love for Chuck Bennett and Josh. So how did Talkish come about?
Okay, so Chuck had called me. This was just before the pandemic had hit. And he's like, he just came off of, he was on 910 Superstation for a while and doing his thing.
Yes, he was. God love him. I used to have every guest in the world.
I know.
Killed me. I used to bring, God, we could have used 8 Mile.
I know. Oh, no, trust me. I've brought plenty of alcohol beverages to that 910 show. So Chuck called me and he's like, hey, if you, think of anything, entertainment wise or radio wise, let me know. And I'm like, we're brainstorming. I'm throwing out a couple suggestions and stuff. And then I remember I was getting a phone call on my other line, and it was Josh Landon. And I'm like, hey, this is Josh Landon. And then it just clicked in my head. I go, wait, what about the 3 of us? And he goes, wow, let's see what Josh says. Cause you
Yeah.
know, like we're three completely opposite people, but
Yeah.
you know, I like to describe it as like, okay, the Olympics symbol, the logo, like we have our own circles, but they cross over, you know,
Yeah.
a little bit. And
It's really fun because I've listened, you know, I for sure have listened to it. I've had a guest on, and you guys really, it's such a fun podcast because you guys really do bring different things to it, which is what people want when they're
right,
listening. You know, it is what you want when you're listening to a podcast. You want, you know, that interaction. You want people
well, you want to
to,
be able to relate, but you want to be serious and funny as hell at the same time. And that's
right.
what
And you
we
don't
bring.
want people to just agree to agree, and,
Right,
you know,
right.
and,
Yeah,
you know, you
you know,
want like, you know, your personality to like be out there, and then you want Josh to come in and be really serious. Like
yeah.
you
And then
got,
Chuck throws some left field stuff.
and all of a
It's
sudden
great.
Chuck is like, you're like, what?
Right, but that's like it's like having a conversation in your living room with some of your good friends, and you're
Yeah.
getting different perspectives and you're getting different outlooks, and you know we
Well,
like
what
to
I love, and I'll tell you, and I hope it's come up in numerous times, I love that it's three guys.
yeah,
I'm so used to women, and I
right,
say that as a woman, you know,
right,
but I love that it's guys, and like that's what I love. I love it's guys shooting the shit. I
yeah,
do. I mean, and I mean to me, I, like I just do. I mean, I think
yeah,
that's what I do. I think that's one of the things. If somebody said what makes it different, it's like, honestly, you can get women to do this, but like to
yeah,
get guys to do it,
right,
and that
right.
that I love.
Right. Yeah, and we, you know, we have fun with it, and we have, you know, as you know, we have a very diverse cast of guests, and
Yeah,
which I love because we're all such people. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and you know, I use this one episode as an example when I tell people about it who don't know about it. I'm like, look, we had the lieutenant governor of Michigan on. We had the owner of Legends, the strip club, who also owns the POW, the restaurant, which is a favorite of mine. And we also had Miss Teen Michigan on
uh-huh.
this, all three of
All
them
the
on the same
same. Yeah,
episode. And it worked, you know,
yeah,
because it's like we touched on everything from the pandemic to what it becomes to become Miss Michigan or Miss
hmm,
Teen USA, to owning a club and having a family and all of this, but it's just life,
yeah.
and it's
Well, and that's
perspective.
why it does work, and because it's so real. I
Right,
mean, it could have
right,
been realish instead of
right.
talkish. I mean, you
Yeah,
know.
right, right. And and it was funny because Talkish came up. We threw out a million different names, and it was funny. Even like Chuck was like, "Let's call it Budcast." I'm like, you grown ass black man. That sounds like the whitest like Budcast, like
I would have
dude
liked to be.
cast.
I would have liked to be in the room when you guys were like throwing names at the
Throwing,
wall.
and then Josh wanted to call it "What Up, Doe." I'm like, wait. Josh Landing having a podcast called "What Up, Doe"? How does that sound? It was,
I'm
you
pretty sure that
know,
I'm
and
pretty sure that was I'm pretty sure that was just a name he was coming up with, but not going to use.
yeah. Well,
Knowing
Chuck
Josh.
shot that down real quick, and
Yeah.
I know I came up with some dumb ones too. So I'm not trying to be the cool guy of the three
No,
of us, but
I
we
got that.
we
Well,
but Chuck, I think Chuck was like, "What if we called it Ish Talk or something?" I go, you know what? How about Talk-ish? Because there's like, and my I have two mixed babies. Well, they're not babies anymore, but they love the show Blackish, and like,
uh-huh.
and it's like we're kind of talking shit, but we're kind of just talking, and like talking should be cool. And they're like, we all agreed on that. So
Well, I love it. And if people haven't listened, it's, where you get your podcast, as they say.
yeah, primarily on the iHeart app, because we're part of the iHeart Media family, and shout out to Paul Corvino, the president, who's awesome, and all our friends there. But yeah, it's fun, and and at it's kind of crazy because when I checked in, like, our first 3 months, we had 51% of our listeners were not Michigan residents, which was cool because it was like, obviously we're doing this because we want to monetize on it, and we want to have fun with it and give a platform to other people. But before the governor just shut us down again recently, the three of us were out at dinner, and the waitress came and said, "Hey, the chef heard that the Talkish guys are here and wanted to take a picture with you guys." And I'm like, really?
All right.
Okay, cool. I'm like, I get it. Josh and Chuck are on TV all the time, especially Josh, but me? Cool. and
You gotta tell them to carry 8 Mile and bring over some drinks too.
Oh yeah. Oh, exactly. So it's just a fun way for us to,
it is.
talk
And
to
like
our
I said,
friends.
I mean, I personally think it's just amazing because it's 3 guys bringing on, like you said, just such a diverse group of conversation.
Yeah.
So I like it. I love that it's a podcast. I think
from judges, rappers, yeah, judges, rappers, politicians, salon owners, restaurant owners.
I definitely see it going from podcast to television world. And
we've had people saying, you guys need a reality show. And the beautiful thing is, like, it brought the 3 of us so close. We're like a family now, like.
Well, like I said, like I adore them both, as they both know. And I've gotten to know you, so I put you in that category.
Thank you.
How do people find you if they want to find you?
So I am on social media at Mikey Eckstein on Facebook and Instagram. My entertainment company is called Embarco, EMBARCO. You can follow that. You can follow us at Talkish on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, I have fun with life and try to make others have fun as well.
That's one of the things that when I first met you, what attracted me to you, that you were just like one of those people that just really enjoy life, and I like that. And it's a great characteristic, especially like in this year. Like I like that you're just not gonna stop. And I enjoy teaching my kids that too. I have a 9-year-old boy, and it was funny because I was texting my girl, or he had my phone, and I'm like, and my girlfriend had texted me, and I'm like, we were at brunch, and she asked, I was ordering ahead because she was running late, of course, women. But she was like, can I get a side of a fruit bowl on the side? And I'm like, yes, my queen, of course you can, And my son was like, woo. And I go, well, you got to treat a woman like a queen. And, and then when she texts back, like, all these heart emojis and stuff, I said, do you see how much that meant to her? I said, it is another thing. When I open the door for your daughter and for my girlfriend, you need to learn that too. So when he came back to me the next weekend, I'm like, did you try that with mom? He goes, yeah. At first she was like, what the hell are you doing by my door? and then he said, now she really smiles when I open the door for her. See, I mean, when I started this today and I said you're an entrepreneur and like a manager, and you just like, I mean, just have like it all going on, and like, and the best role is a dad, and teaching that you got it all. So
yeah, I do have one more funny story, because I do donate a lot of stuff to charities and stuff like that, especially working in the music and sports world, having access to getting autographs and memorabilia and stuff.
Got any Bruce, as people know how I am, you got any Bruce Springsteen going on over there? Because
no, but I did do something with his guitar player not too long ago, little Stevie, who's got a radio show.
When he was in town.
Well, actually, my friend Co has a show on Little Steven's Garage on Sirius XM, and she's Detroit based. But
Okay,
anyhow, no, but I
when
did.
you connect with the big man, well,
Gotcha.
not the big man, the
Yeah,
boss.
I gotcha. But so when Dylan Larkin was a rookie, I had taken my kids to a Red Wings game, and before the game, he Dylan Larkin flipped my son a puck, in warm ups or whatever, and my son thought that was cool. And my son was 5 at the time, so this was 4 years ago, Larkin's rookie year, and I had to meet up with one of the other players after the game, and my kids were with me, and Larkin came out to meet somebody, and my son's like, Dad, there's Dylan walking. You think he's on my puck? And I'm like, I'm sure he will. He's nice young man. So he signed his puck, and the usher that was there was like, "Oh, let me see that," and was joking with them, like, "Oh, well, I'll just keep that in my pocket," And my son goes, "Well, you can have it if you want." And then he goes, "No, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna donate it to the Wayne State police officer that died, and they honored him tonight. I'm gonna donate it to his family so they can raise money to bury him."
Oh,
And I was like, I had a tear in my eye. I was like, wow, what other kid who's in kindergarten that Dylan Larkin
hands
flips him
down,
up
you win. You win.
I was like, I feel kind of good because he learned that from me. I'm not
Yeah.
the best, trust me. I've done some stuff that.
Oh, you know what?
But
I'll text my friends on any given day going, bad parenting moment. What? When you have those good ones,
it's so.
That's
I
the best.
literally like had to hold back a tear. I was just like, wow, that was cute.
There you go.
So anyhow,
Well,
on that
my friend, give my love to your talkish friends.
I will.
I know we'll get together after the first of the year, and
100%. Thank you for having me.
I will be drinking some 8 Mile.
Yes.
And have an amazing holiday. You deserve all the best. I will see you soon.
You as well. Thank you. Mwah.
Much
Bye-bye.
love.
Ditto.